Hi and welcome to this video. Today we're going to talk about the OpenAI Dev conference that actually happened yesterday. And there's a lot of new announcements. A lot changed, almost everything I would say yesterday when the OpenAI Dev conference was going live. In this video, I will show you all the changes and we will watch the video together and I will comment a little on everything that happened. There's really a lot of changes. And for developers, this can mean that their projects are actually not relevant anymore. For regular people, they have now more options to implement and build their own chatbots. There's a lot of new stuff in APIs and a lot of new development going on. Stay tuned and have a look at the video with me and go through all the changes that OpenAI made to the new interface and also to the technology and their APIs.
Good morning. Welcome to our first ever OpenAI Dev Day. About a year ago, November 30th, we shipped ChatGPT as a low-key research preview. And that went pretty well. We followed that up with the launch of GPT-4, still the most capable model out in the world. And in the last...
So in the first part, they're just giving us, or Sam is just giving us an overview of what they have done in the last couple of months. This is basically GPT-4 and also here the voice output.
Last few months, we launched voice and vision capabilities so that ChatGPT can now see, hear, and speak.
For everybody who doesn't know ChatGPT, you can talk to ChatGPT, you can download their app and just talk to it. And also for the vision, you can take photos and you can ask it. For example, if you have a bicycle or if you have something that you want to fix, you take a photo and you can ask ChatGPT how to fix it, or even other questions like what is missing in my fridge if you want to cook something.
And more recently, we launched DALL-E 3, the world's most advanced image model. You can use it, of course, inside of ChatGPT.
With DALL-E 3, of course, you can generate images. It's like Midjourney, if you know something about Midjourney, but it's more integrated. It's nicely integrated in ChatGPT, so you can use it there. And this opens up a lot of opportunities for developers as well. So as you will see that they packed everything into the API now.
For our enterprise customers, we launched ChatGPT Enterprise, which offers enterprise-grade security and privacy, higher speed GPT-4 access, longer context windows, a lot more.
So ChatGPT, like he just said, they already have an enterprise version since some months. So only enterprises have basically the custom models. And what this is good for is that they have the data privately stored and they have different options. They can upload their own documents. They are faster and so on. So it is made for companies with all the permissions and so on.
Today, we've got about 2 million developers building on our API for a wide variety of use cases, doing amazing stuff. Over 92% of Fortune 500 companies building on our products. And we have about 100 million weekly active users now.
Of course, these numbers are stunning. 2 million developers, 92 of the Fortune 500 companies using it, and 100 million weekly active users is quite a lot. As you will see in the video, it is actually for developers, I would say, not that good of an update, because a lot of smaller companies especially are building on stuff that uses ChatGPT, and now they are implementing actually a lot themselves. So all these business models will probably go away. So this I see as a bit of a problem, and I find it quite strange that they are going into that direction.
On ChatGPT. And what's incredible on that is we got there entirely through word of mouth. People just find it useful and tell their friends. OpenAI is the most advanced and the most widely used AI platform in the world now. So now, on to the new stuff, and we have got a lot. Today,
so now we're going to talk about ChatGPT-4 and what is new with ChatGPT-4. And we'll see that there is a new model they're announcing, because till now we had problems with the token limit and also with the pricing. And let's see.
We are launching a new model, GPT-4 Turbo. We've got 6 major things to talk about.
So GPT-4 Turbo is coming out. This will be replacing, or you can replace 3.5 Turbo, which is the model most of the people are using at the moment because it's pretty cheap, it's fast, it has got a big token window. And these are the 6 changes that we will see in GPT-4.5 Turbo.
For this part. Number one, context length. A lot of people have tasks that require a much longer context length. GPT-4 supported up to 8K and in some cases up to 32K context length. GPT-4 Turbo supports up to 128,000 tokens of context. That's 300 pages of a standard book, 16 times longer than our 8K context.
So we can now have a much higher input. So like he said, could put in 300 pages of a book, and that helps, of course. You're not running out of tokens. If you're running through a document, this was till now a big problem. You had to connect a different model like Anthropic or Cloud.
And in addition to longer context length, you'll notice that the model is much more accurate over a long context.
So he's saying it's also much more accurate. They also tried to fine-tune the outputs in the background.
Number two, more control. We've heard loud and clear that developers need more control over the model's responses and outputs. So we've addressed that in a number of ways. We have a new feature called JSON mode, which ensures that the model will respond with valid JSON. The model is also much better at function calling. You can now call many functions at once, and it'll do better at following instructions in general. We're also introducing a new feature called reproducible outputs. You can pass a seed parameter, and it'll make the model return consistent outputs. This, of course, gives you a higher degree of control over models.
So for developers, this is interesting because now you can actually have a JSON output, which makes it much more easy for developers to work. And it looked like in the screenshot, your temperature levels will be much more flexible. So I saw here in the temperature is 22. And so it seems we can put the temperature much better. And he's talking about we can put in seeds. So this will probably be something like I can put an answer in the question. So if the user is asking a question, I can define some kind of answer type or the exact answer. This will probably get a seed. So a seed will be a unique combination of numbers and letters. You may know it from Midjourney. There was a period where you could actually generate a seed, and then you could use the seed again and generate a similar image or this exactly same image.
Model behavior. This rolls out in beta today. All right. Number three, better world knowledge. We're launching retrieval in the platform. You can bring knowledge from outside documents or databases into whatever you're building.
That's great. That's of course great. Now you can actually, it seems like you can connect it to other sources. So you can actually retrieve your data. You can actually receive your data from other sources and connect it. And also the next thing he will say now is, if I can spoil it, that actually it is now being almost up to date. So till now, the data from ChatGPT was September 21, and now
also updating the knowledge cutoff. We are just as annoyed as all of you, probably more, that GPT-4's knowledge about the world ended in 2021. We will try to never let it get that out of date again. GPT-4 Turbo has knowledge about the world up to April of 2023.
So the ChatGPT Turbo will now have the knowledge till April, like he just said, and they will try now to keep it updated. That means they will try to update it on a consistent basis so it will be able to put out the latest information. I'm not sure if they will just implement something and with a partnership with Google that they have access to the web data or they use something else, but this is pretty nice that we have updated information because sometimes I'm sure you also run into the situation where GPT told you that the knowledge is actually not up to date and it can't really give you information about that.
And we will continue to improve that over time. Number 4, new modalities. Surprising no one, DALL-E 3, GPT-4 Turbo with Vision, and the new text-to-speech model are all going into the API today. GPT-4 Turbo.
This is big, of course, for developers, especially the text-to-speech and the vision capability and everything they put now in the API. So as a developer, you can have now your app speaking to you and you speak to the app. So it's both ways. And this opens up a lot of opportunities, of course.
Turbo can now accept images as inputs via the API.
And you can accept images as inputs. And this opens up another world, of course, because you can build apps in allowing people to upload whatever it is and then putting it or giving it to the language model, and the language model will actually be able to look at the image and answer the questions based on the image.
Can generate captions, classifications, and analysis. For example, Be My Eyes uses this technology to help people who are blind or have low vision with their daily tasks like identifying products in front of them. And with our new text-to-speech model, you'll be able to generate incredibly natural-sounding audio from text in the API with 6 preset voices to choose from. I'll play an example.
Did you know that Alexander Graham Bell, the eminent inventor, was enchanted by the world of sounds?
So you see the text output is pretty good. And the question is, what does that mean for companies like 11 Labs and all the other companies that have specialized now in text to speech to text and all the things? So I find it a little strange from OpenAI that they actually take over all these industries.
Genius mind led to the creation of the graphophone, which etches sounds onto wax, making voices whisper through time.
This is much more natural than anything else we've heard out there. Voice can make apps more natural to interact with, and
I think it sounds pretty natural, but there's some like 11 Labs or others out there that sound even more natural, I would say.
more accessible. It also unlocks a lot of use cases like language learning and voice assistance.
The language learning is big, of course, and you could also build something live translator, where you just use your phone. You don't speak Spanish, for example, you hold it to the person who speaks Spanish, it will automatically be translated. At the moment, probably the speed is a little the problem, that you have to wait some seconds, but they also announced that they're going to make it faster. So in this first step, they are trying to make it cheaper, and the next step, they will focus on being much faster, they said.
Speaking of new modalities, we're also releasing the next version of our open source speech recognition model, Whisper v3, today, and it'll be coming soon to the API. It features improved performance across many languages, and we think you're really going to like it. Okay, number 5, customization. You may want a model to learn a completely new knowledge domain, or to use a lot of proprietary data. So today we're launching a new program called Custom Models. With custom models,
This is also big, of course, the custom models. He will show now how you can actually build your own custom ChatGPT. You can upload data and you can modify it. And then there's even more to it, as you will see.
our researchers will work closely with the company to help them make a great custom model, especially for them and their use case using our tools. In the interest of expectations, at least initially, it won't be cheap. But if you're excited to push things as far as they can currently go, please get in touch with us, and we think we can do something pretty great.
So the custom models seems to be something else that they announce later. The custom models will be something where just the big clients can contact them, and they will help them actually to have a database in the background and stuff like that, which is nothing too special. At the moment, you need a third party. You need a vector database. You need something like Flowwise or some other tool that will help you to have a backend, a vector storage, and then a front end like VoiceFlow, for example, or Typebot, that you can connect it. And then you can even put on text to speech to text. And you would have actually the same output as they will deliver in this custom model for enterprise clients. But of course, you need a developer and you need to have all these sources. You have to connect everything. And at the moment, you would just use ChatGPT as large language model in the background. Maybe now you can also use the text to speech to text. And maybe I'm not sure how they structure the data that you can upload. I've seen in the backend already that there's now files. I'm not sure if you can upload files to that. But also the question is always, do you want OpenAI to have all of your data, and especially your company data? I'm not sure. Of course, they are saying they're not using it at all. What else should they say? But I would prefer to have it separately under my control, having different companies controlling it. So it's not one point of failure, basically.
Okay, and then number 6, higher rate limits. We're doubling the tokens per minute for all of our established GPT-4 customers so that it's easier to do more. In addition to these rate limits, we're introducing copyright shield.
So they have also these token limits and rates limits, which you can now easily modify in your backend. And you should see that in the backend already. I've seen some stuff change, but not everything. I'm not sure if you check your backend, if you see it already. The next thing is the copyright shield, which is pretty big, but it worries me a little. Let's see what he has to say about the copyright shield.
Copyright Shield means that we will step in and defend our customers and pay the costs incurred if you face legal claims around copyright infringement. And this applies both to ChatGPT Enterprise and the API.
This, I think it sounds very good, but that the data that they provide will be so much censored or so much public knowledge without any ups and downs, that what I want to say is that they will keep probably the data in a way that it can't actually put out something that it could get a copyright strike or something like that. I'm not sure if this is good and how much control we still will have about these models, but let's see what they do. I don't know how this will work. So basically, I digged into it, and as you may know, we are doing something that's called AI Mentor and AI Expert. And for our mentors, we are training the mentor models on the knowledge of well-known people. So basically, for IP law, it's a very gray line if you can use all this content or not. So basically what he's saying, if I would use everything of this with the OpenAI API, then if somebody would come to me and sue me for that, then actually OpenAI would protect me. I'm not sure how this will work out or what is actually in detail behind it, but I'm sure it will be more clear over the next period of time.
And let me be clear, this is a good time to remind people, we do not train on data from the API or ChatGPT Enterprise ever.
Yes, so that's what we said before. They say they don't train on any data. So if you use the API to connect to your data source or build your bot with their API, they are not allowed, of course, to use the data in between. But if this is true, who knows?
There's actually one more developer request that's been even bigger than all of these, and that's pricing. And GPT-4 Turbo, a better model, is considerably cheaper than GPT.
So we'll see now, this is actually very good for us. So we can slowly maybe think about in moving to the new model. The ChatGPT 3.5 Turbo model, if you use it now in your application, you may know even if you use it quite regular. It depends. If you use it with clients and you have thousands and thousands of users, the cost will also be quite high. And with the Turbo model, with the 4 Turbo model, you will see the cost is reduced very much, but let's Sam explain.
GPT-4 by a factor of 3x for prompt tokens and 2x for completion tokens.
This is pretty good, but it's still much more expensive. If you have a heavy workload or heavy usage of inputs and output tokens, then you have to have a look if you should use it. I would suggest really to test the models. And if the output is really much better of the Turbo, then go for the Turbo 4 and not the 3. And maybe you can just fine-tune your Turbo 3 model to have similar outputs, but save costs. This really depends on the use case and if you really can control your cost or pay for that in your model.
Starting today. The new pricing is 1 cent per 1,000 prompt tokens.
1 cent per 1,000 prompt tokens. This is pretty good, and 3 cents for the output.
And 3 cents per 1,000 completion tokens. For most customers, that will lead to a blended rate more than 2.75 times cheaper to use for GPT-4 Turbo than GPT-4. We worked super hard to make this happen. We hope you're as excited about it as we are. In all of this, we're lucky to have a partner who is instrumental in making it happen.
So now there is this Microsoft guy coming in. He's actually not saying too much. Let's have a short look, and if it's getting too boring, we just forward.
So I'd like to bring on a special guest, Satya Nadella, the CEO of Microsoft.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Satya, thanks so much for coming here. How is Microsoft thinking about the partnership currently?
Look, first, we love you guys. Look, it's been fantastic for us. You guys have built something magical. Quite frankly, there are two things for us when it comes to the.
I will forward that because he's just talking nothing special. He's just ensuring that they have a good infrastructure and so on in the background because they're building it with Microsoft and they are backed by Microsoft and so on. But this is actually just, I think, to give Sam a better standing on stage, having the Microsoft guy coming to the stage. But the information provided in this part is not very interesting. So let's move on.
For comments. Okay. Even though this is a developer conference, we can't resist making some improvements to ChatGPT. So a small one, ChatGPT now uses GPT-4 Turbo with all.
If you use ChatGPT, it's using by default now ChatGPT Turbo, he's saying.
All the latest improvements, including the latest knowledge cutoff, which will continue to update. That's all live today.
Also, the knowledge cutoff should be okay. I tested it yesterday evening. For me, it was not updated, but probably it's updated now. So it should be, what was it, April, somewhere in April should be the latest knowledge now.
It can now browse the web when it needs to, write and run code, analyze data, take and generate images, and much more. And we heard your feedback that model picker extremely annoying. That is gone starting today.
Yeah, that's also very good. If you have been using it, it was really sometimes a pain to really switch between the plugins. So if I wanted to research something that requires more live data, I had to switch to the browsing feature, and then you had to switch to this and that. So now they're saying you just type in what you want to know, and ChatGPT, actually the interface, will figure it out itself, what it needs to get the information.
Will not have to click around the drop-down menu. ChatGPT will just know what to use and when you need it. But that's not the main thing. I want to talk about where we're headed, and the main thing we're here to talk about today. We know that people want AI that is smarter, more personal, more customizable, can do more on your behalf. Eventually, you'll just ask the computer for what you need, and it'll do all of these tasks for you. These capabilities are often talked in the AI field about as agents. The upsides of this are going to be tremendous. So today, we're taking our first small step that moves us towards this future. We're thrilled to introduce.
So the GPTs, as you will see, is basically the opportunity to build your own GPT, ChatGPT, to train it a little on your data or modify it like you want to do it.
GPTs are tailored versions of ChatGPT for a specific purpose. You can build a GPT, a customized version of ChatGPT for almost anything, with instructions, expanded knowledge, and actions, and then you can publish it for others to use. So first, let's look at a few examples. Canva has built a GPT that lets you start designing by describing what you want in natural language. If you say, make a poster for Dev Day reception this evening, and you give it some details, it'll generate a few options to start with by hitting Canva's APIs. Now, this concept may be familiar to some of you. We've evolved our plugins to be custom actions for GPTs. You can keep chatting with this to see different iterations, and when you see one you like, you can click through to Canva for the full design experience. So now, we'd like to show you a GPT live. Zapier has built a GPT that lets you perform actions across 6,000 applications to unlock all kinds of integration possibilities. I'd like to introduce Jessica, one of our solutions architects, who is going to drive this demo. Welcome, Jessica.
My name is Jessica Shea. I work with partners and customers to bring their product to life. And today, I can't wait to show you how hard we've been working on this. So to start, where your GPT will live is on this upper left corner. I'm going to start with clicking on the Zapier.
So you see now this new interface that will, and you have all your agents that you can create and probably also download from the store that they will have and execute it. And she will show now how actually she will use it, that the agent will basically book appointments in her calendar or send somebody a message because it's connected to the messaging app or the calendar or whatever it is through Zapier in this case.
Your AI actions. And on the right-hand side, you can see that's my calendar for today. To start, I can ask, what's on my schedule for today? We build GPTs with security in mind. So before it performs any action or share data, it will ask for your permission. So right here, I'm going to say aloud. GPT is designed to take in your instructions, make the decision on which capability to call to perform that action, and then execute that for you.
The interesting thing seems to be that actually you can talk to it like to a personal assistant, and it will know, or it should know, what app to call. So if you ask it basically what are my plans or what do I have on my calendar today, it will know that it has to look in the calendar and it will give back the stuff. And then it should know if you want to change something, what it needs to do and what platform to use to contact this person to make the changes.
So you can see right here, it's already connected to my calendar. It pulls into my information And then I've also prompted it to identify conflicts on my calendar. So you can see right here, it actually was able to identify that. It looks like I have something coming up. What if I want to let Sam know that I have to leave early? So right here, I say, let Sam know I gotta go, chasing GPUs. With that, I'm gonna swap to my conversation with Sam, and then I'm gonna say, yes, please run that. Sam?
Yeah. You saw now the agent knows if she wants to contact Sam, then it will use Messenger or whatever. Maybe it's tracking in the background. It knows what channel she's using most of the time to connect these people. Hopefully, this can also be disabled, that you don't have to allow it all the time, because I think this keeps you back quite a lot.
Did you get that?
I did.
Awesome. This is only a glimpse of what is possible, and I cannot wait to see what you all will build. Thank you, and back to you, Sam.
Thank you, Jessica. And later this month, we're going to launch the GPT store. You can list a GPT.
So you see also a GPT store will come, where you can actually build and place your agents. And maybe this is why they have done this protection stuff.
there, and we'll be able to feature the best and the most popular GPTs. Of course, we'll make sure that GPTs in the store follow our policies before they're accessible. Revenue.
It seems to be like some kind of app store where you actually produce, let's say you are expert in any field, you can now probably share your knowledge and upload it to there, and they will do a check like the App Store is doing. And it seems like you're getting a split of the revenue.
Sharing is important to us. We're going to pay people who build the most useful and the most used GPTs a portion of our revenue. We're excited to foster a vibrant ecosystem with the GPT store. Just from what we've been building ourselves over the weekend, we're confident there's going to be a lot of great stuff. We're excited to share more information soon.
It's not clear for me if you actually getting money if people use your bot and then actually subscribe. I think you probably gonna need the pro version or some kind of subscription to use these bots. So I'm not sure if you're getting a revenue cut like an affiliate if they come to OpenAI and sign up for something, or if you get money if they use your bot, and maybe they're also gonna implement some kind of payment. This is also like a disadvantage at the moment and the payments. So if you build a regular chatbot with all this, your own backend, your own vector database, your front end, like voice flow or whatever, you can easily, or not that easily, but if you have a programmer, you can implement payments. So you could have 5 times the answer for free, and then at the 6th time, they have to pay something to get 50 more answers, something like that. I don't know if they want to implement it so you can use or pay basically for the bot that you're building, or you need some kind of subscription. We will see that. I'm not sure if this is decided now.
So those are GPTs, and we can't wait to see what you'll build. These experiences are great, but they have been hard to build, sometimes taking months, teams of dozens of engineers. There's a lot to handle to make this custom assistant experience. So today we're making that a lot easier with our new Assistants API. The Assistants API includes persistent threads, so they don't have to figure out how to deal with long conversation history, built-in retrieval, code interpreter, a working Python interpreter in a sandbox environment, and of course, the improved function calling that we talked about earlier. So we'd like to show you a demo of how this works, and here is Rahman, our head of developer experience. Today,
so they will put a lot of new stuff into the API. This is, of course, good for developers. They can save a lot of time, especially if you go back and forward. Most of the time, you have to store the message history so you can actually reply or know about the person who's chatting with you, depending on what kind of chat app you have. But if you have a very personal app, like a therapist or whatever, it's very important to know everything that they're going to make it much easier to go back and forward and know about the conversation. Also, it seems they make it easier to retrieve, so put some documents in the background and get the information out of these documents. And this application he will show now is another thing that you can do now with the API.
We're launching new modalities in the API, but we are also very excited to improve the developer experience for you all to build assistive agents. So let's dive right in. Imagine I'm building Wanderlust, a travel app for global explorers, and this is the landing page. I've actually used GPT-4 to come up with these destination ideas, and for those of you with a keen eye, These illustrations are generated programmatically using the new DALL-E 3 API available to all of you today. So it's pretty remarkable. But let's enhance this app by adding a very simple assistant to it. This is the screen. We're going to come back to it in a second. First, I'm going to switch over to the new assistants playground.
As you see, they have an assistance playground now where you can actually give it a name and an instruction, and you can test it out.
Creating an assistant is easy. You just give it a name, some initial instructions, a model. In this case, I'll pick GPT-4 Turbo. And here, I'll also go ahead and select some tools. I'll turn on Code Interpreter, and that's it. Our assistant is ready to go.
So you can now also turn on these functions like you could in the front end. You can turn it on in the back end, and then you have the functionality. So the agent will be able to retrieve other data or also understand code, for example.
If I say, hey, let's go to Paris. All right, that's it. With just a few lines of code, users can now have a very specialized assistant right inside the app. So here, if I carry on and say, hey, what are the top 10 things to do? We're going to have the assistant respond to that again. And here, what's interesting is that the assistant knows about functions, including those to annotate the map that you see on the right. And so now all of these pins are dropping in real time here.
So basically what they're showing here is a combination of map and the large language model. And now they're also able actually to modify the output, like on the map, putting the pins of the locations. This seems to be a pretty nice function for developers and will open up a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. And that integration allows our natural language interface to interact fluidly with components and features of our app. And it truly showcases now the harmony you can build between AI and UI, where the assistant is actually taking action. But next,
like he's saying, the combination of AI and UI, so the artificial intelligence and the user interface.
Next, let's talk about retrieval. And retrieval is about giving our assistant more knowledge beyond these immediate user messages. In fact, I got inspired and I already booked my tickets to Paris. So I'm just going to drag and drop here this PDF. When it's uploading, I can just sneak peek at it. Very typical United flight ticket. And behind the scene here, what's happening is that retrieval is reading these files and boom, the information about this PDF appeared on the screen. And
so you can also upload now documents. I'm not sure if you do that in the front end also, or you can also do it in the back end, but we will know much more about it very soon. In this case, he's uploading the flight document in the front end, and this goes basically in the back end. And from this point on, the application or this assistant knows about his flight details.
This is, of course, a very tiny PDF, but assistants can parse long-form documents from extensive text to intricate product specs, depending on what you're building. In fact, I also booked an Airbnb, so I'm just going to drag that over to the conversation as well. But just because OpenAI is managing this API does not mean it's a black box. In fact, you can see the steps that the tools are taking right inside your developer dashboard. So here, if I go ahead and click on threads, this is the thread I believe we're currently working on. And see, these are all the steps.
Yeah, that's very nice. So it looks like you can go into the threads, and it even shows you the API calls or all the code parts as well. So it's easy to debug and you can exactly know what's going on. It's not just the conversations, it's also the code, probably because of the code interpreter activated here.
Including the functions being called with the right parameters and the PDFs I've just uploaded. But let's move on to a new capability that many of you have been requesting for a while. Code Interpreter is now available today in the API as well. That gives the AI the ability to write and execute code on the fly, but even generate files. So let's see that in action. If I say here, hey, we'll be 4 friends staying at this Airbnb, what's my share of it plus my flights? Now here, what's happening is that Code Interpreter noticed that it should write some code to answer this query. So now it's computing the number of days.
So basically what it's doing is you don't have to program in this function before anymore. Of course, it's not a very efficient way to do it, but in this case, you never know what the customer will come up with if you use that as an agent. So the advantage is no matter what it is, if it would be, for example, an insurance calculator for any type of insurance for every opportunity or possibility, if you don't know what they're going to calculate or even broader, then of course this is very nice because it comes up with the tool, the mini tool itself basically programs it on the fly. and then it will actually be able to put out all the information. This is pretty nice, I would say.
Paris' number of friends, it's also doing some exchange rate calculation behind the scene to get this answer for us. Not the most complex math, but you get the picture. Imagine you're building a very complex finance app that's crunching countless numbers, plotting charts. So really any task that you'd normally tackle with code, then Code Interpreter will work great for you. All right, I think my trip to Paris is sorted. To recap here, we've just seen how you can quickly create an assistant that manages state for your user conversations, leverages external tools like knowledge and retrieval and Code Interpreter, and finally invokes your own functions to make things happen. So thank you so much, everyone. Have a great day. Back to you, Sam.
Pretty cool, huh? All right, so that Assistance API goes into beta today, and we are super excited to see.
So I have to look at it if it's already rolled out, but like I said, it should be rolled out, and I have to read the documentation. And I will do some more specific videos on all the parts because a lot of stuff changed now. It gets even more complicated, I think, to keep on top of all of that. There's so many changes. It's unbelievable.
See what you all do with it. Anybody can enable it. Over time, GPTs and assistants, our precursors to agents, are going to be able to do much, much more. They'll gradually be able to plan and to perform more complex actions on your behalf. We believe it's important for people to start building with and using these agents now to get a feel for what the world is going to be like as they become more capable. And as we've always done, we'll continue to update our systems based off of your feedback. So we're super excited that we got to share all of this with you today. We introduced GPTs, custom versions of ChatGPT that combine instructions, extended knowledge, and actions. We launched the Assistance API to make it easier to build assisted experiences with your own apps. These are our first steps towards AI agents, and we'll be increasing their capabilities over time. We introduced a new GPT-4 Turbo model that delivers improved function calling, knowledge, lowered pricing, new modalities, and more. And we're deepening our partnership with Microsoft. We do all of this because we believe that AI is going to be a technological and societal revolution. It will change the world in many ways, and we're happy to get to work on something that will empower all of you to build so much for all of us. As intelligence gets integrated everywhere, we will all have superpowers on demand. We're excited to see what you all will do with this technology and to discover the new future that we're all going to architect together. We hope that you'll come back next year. What we launched today is going to look very quaint relative to what we're busy creating for you now.
So this was the developer conference. And as you see, it was quite a lot about the regular chat features. And for developers, a lot of people say this was actually the developer conference because, like I mentioned in between already, a lot of people are building agents at the moment. We are also building agents. But the thing is, I don't see it as, I think you have to stay very specific. If you go too broad, for example, if you would build an AI girlfriend at the moment, I think that these times are almost over because with WhatsApp, they have the integrations already that you can build your own friend. There's leaks out there that Instagram is working on a friend. So the less specific the LLM has to be, the less difficult it is for regular people to rebuild it. Of course, for normal people, it's perfect to build their own friend. The question is that something that is good for society, right? But at least more and more people will get into it. And then it gets a little higher. So you have more specific knowledge. You have to train the bots a little better. And I think a bot like we are building one of them, like a therapy bot, where you have your own therapist. This is one of the highest level because it's very important. Every output, every sentence, everything is very important. And also the input, the training. So the simpler the knowledge gets, and we have to be more specific. If you want to be successful in building bots, you have to be very specific. You build a bot for plumbers or whatever. So a lot of new announcements came out now. For me, it seemed to be a lot of announcement before already. This developer conference, it's unbelievable, I would say. To keep on the latest track of the knowledge is very complicated. But everybody has to do the same. So everybody has to update his knowledge. Everybody has to develop new stuff. We just have to move forward and we will be able to keep on. Maybe we are also in our bubble. Most of the other people they just discovered ChatGPT. They don't know a lot of the other stuff already. So I'm sure we will manage it together, and I will make some more videos to help you to manage all the updates and help you to integrate all the stuff. If you run a business, it's easy to implement all this stuff now. To build applications, it got easier now. So I hope this video was helpful, and I see you in my next video. Bye-bye. See you. Take care.